You'll always be my rock, Mom. And to the man who never missed a moment, my real dad. That was the line. Right there, under a string of golden navy streamers. With her cap still crooked and her cheeks pink from champagne, my stepdaughter Chloe lifted her glass and poured 16 years of my life straight down the disposal. Her biological father, Rick, the same guy who once called her a surprise mistake during a bar fight, stood 3 rows back, in a pressed linen shirt that probably still smelled like bourbon and cologne samples from a Shell station. He grinned like he'd earned it, raised his solo cup and nodded like he remembered what year she was born. The auditorium clapped. Dana, my wife, her mother, laughed. Not even a nervous one, like it was all part of a skit she'd seen before. She leaned into the table, picked a cherry off her drink, and didn't so much as glance in my direction. No one did. I stood there with my hands folded, tie still knotted from the morning ceremony. They'd handed me a commemorative pin for parental dedication. Cute. That pin cost me 16 years, 2 mortgages, and the cartilage in both knees. I didn't say a word, didn't storm out, just took a sip of warm punch, nodded once, and stared straight at Chloe until her eyes flinched away. By the time they cut the cake, some overly fondant monstrosity with class of 2025 piped in cursive. She was already posing in front of the step-and-repeat backdrop with Rick's arm around her waist like he'd been there every single day of her damn life. Spoiler, he hadn't. The guy skipped her birth, her first steps, her kindergarten play, and basically any event that didn't involve being handed a microphone and free booze. Let's make something clear, I never needed applause. I wasn't in this for the thank yous or the Father's Day mugs. I packed her lunches, sat through dentist visits, volunteered at her robotics meets, and pulled 12-hour days to pay off the second tuition bill when she decided NYU wasn't vibe-y enough. You think I cared about being her real dad? No, I cared that I showed up. Every single time. And with one sentence, she made sure the world knew none of that counted. I left after the second round of toasts, slipped out the side door, barely noticed. While everyone else clinked glasses and fake laughed through speeches they didn't mean, I drove home in silence, parked outside our house. Sorry, my house. Dana never paid the mortgage once, and sat in the car until the radio faded to static. If this story hits you somewhere, if you've ever given your everything and watched it get flushed in public while everyone smiles like you were never there, hit that subscribe. 90% of folks don't, but it helps this channel keep going. And maybe, just maybe, more people will hear stories like this. Back inside, I walked straight past the congratulatory banner Dana left hanging in the hallway, past the photos I'd printed, past the shoes Chloe kicked off without even bothering to thank me for the last-minute alterations I paid for, and up into the attic. Not the metaphorical kind. I mean the literal attic, where I kept everything. Report cards, playbills, every note that read, "Thanks for the ride," or "Can we get sushi tomorrow?" I kept the ballet shoes from 3rd grade, still scuffed from a recital she said was cringe 3 years later. I kept the old retainer, the one I paid $600 for after Rick bailed on her appointment for the 3rd time. I kept the damn teddy bear she threw out after she turned 13, because I'm not a kid anymore. And there, under a stack of W-2s and tax files, was the safe. Fireproof, waterproof, and very well organized. Inside it, the 529 college plan, $240,000. Fully funded. All mine. Correction, all hers. Chloe. Or, more accurately, used to be. I just sat on the floor, documents spread around me like the ashes of a life I built brick by damn brick. For a girl who toasted another man while wearing the bracelet I bought her when she got accepted. No yelling. No theatrics. Just a click of the lock. And an idea. Cold. Clean. Irreversible. The attic always smelled like dust and insulation, like a place time forgot. That night, it became a museum of my mistakes. I sat cross-legged on the old floorboards, sifting through 15 plastic bins labeled by grade level, event type, and year. Kindergarten through senior year, every single performance program, every field trip receipt, every emailed confirmation of, "Thanks for your donation, Mr. Wells," from schools that never bothered to learn my first name. I found her 5th grade essay, My Hero, My Stepdad, written in pencil, smudged on the edges from where she dragged her hand across it too fast. In it, she said I was the reason she wanted to work hard, go far, be kind. I taped it to the fridge for 6 months. That same year, Rick, her biological, real dad, showed up uninvited to her birthday, gave her an iPad, and disappeared again by dessert. I found the envelope from the summer camp she sobbed about missing until I picked up weekend shifts to cover the tuition. $2,000 for her to spend 6 weeks kayaking, learning archery, and pretending I didn't exist when it was time to name her emergency contact. I found the receipts from her orthodontist, the ones I hid from Dana because she said we couldn't afford both braces and a vacation that year. Guess who skipped the beach and paid the $4,800 in full? Everything in that attic was a receipt for a memory. Not of hers. Of mine. My sacrifices. My blind optimism. Downstairs, I heard the TV playing. Dana was watching one of those dating reality shows where everyone's either a victim or a manipulator. The irony wasn't lost on me. Then her voice floated up the stairs like a gnat in a bottle of scotch. Don't take it so hard. It was just a speech. Just a speech. Like it hadn't been rehearsed. Like her eyes hadn't deliberately scanned the crowd for him. Like she hadn't skipped over 16 years of my life like a glitch in the ceremony. Just a speech. I didn't answer. Didn't yell. Didn't stomp. I reached behind a box marked Christmas Lights, 2018, pulled out the fireproof safe, and set it down in front of me. The keypad blinked once. I entered the code. It opened with a quiet pop. Inside, one folder. Red. Labeled 529 CHLOE. $240,000. 240,000 tax advantage dollars. Invested over 16 years. Adjusted, rolled, indexed, and balanced. I knew every line of that statement the way a gambler knows his losing hand. Because I'd made it from scratch. I pulled the quarterly report out. Last update. April. Account in good standing. Designated beneficiary, Chloe Dana Madsen. All legal. All filed. All mine to alter. I stared at the name on the page until the letters started to blur. I could almost hear her voice again. To the man who never missed a moment, my real dad. He missed everything. I missed nothing. Still, I didn't touch the paperwork. Not yet. I closed the folder, returned it to the safe, locked it, because I knew something Dana and Chloe didn't. This wasn't about revenge. Not yet. Revenge is for people who want to be noticed, who need credit. I didn't need either. I needed clarity. And maybe one more night of pretending this could still be fixed. Because once I moved that money, there would be no speech, no apology, no forced hug that could walk it back. And I wanted to be damn sure that when I pulled the trigger, it wasn't out of anger. It was out of peace. Out of absolute, final stillness. Because only then would it really hit them, what they had, and what they just threw away. The brunch was held at a rental hall, with fake marble floors and folding chairs dressed in white sashes. Dana spared no expense. It's her day, she said, as if I hadn't already funded the previous 600 of them. The tables were covered in sunflowers and glittered "Congrats grad" confetti. There was a mimosa bar, mini quiches, a DJ who looked like he moonlighted as a vape shop clerk, and of course Rick. Rick arrived late, wearing a tailored blazer and designer sunglasses he never took off. He brought a +1, a 20-something with the personality of drywall, then proceeded to hold court like a drunk wedding MC. Remember when she used to line her dolls up and teach them math? He said loudly to the table. I'd be in the kitchen, hearing her say, 2 + 2 is not 5. Everyone laughed. Except me. Because I knew for a fact he wasn't there. That was me in the hallway, recording her on my phone, sending it to Dana while she was stuck at a late shift, telling her, "You won't believe how cute this is." But no one corrected him. Not Dana. Not Chloe. Hell, not even Dana's sister, who once begged me for rent money after her third eviction. I stood near the punch table, invisible in plain sight. Every time someone needed napkins or another bottle uncorked, guess who they looked at? Not the real dad. I had one small bag with me. Inside was the gift I'd spent weeks thinking about. A leather-bound planner, engraved with her initials. Inside the front cover was a letter, handwritten, 10 pages, folded neatly. Not emotional. Not bitter. Just my voice, unfiltered, one last time. It ended with, "I showed up when it counted." And I'll always know that, even if you forget. When Chloe finally opened it, she flipped past the planner without a word. She read the first line of the letter, her lips twitching for a moment. Then she folded it shut and set it under the table, between a pile of cards and Rick's boxed gift, which, by the way, was a Tiffany necklace bought with some other poor bastard's child support. Not a thank you. Not even a smile. Dana watched it all happen. She didn't even blink. So I did what any other forgotten man does after paying for someone else's victory party. I left early. I told them I had calls to make. Back home, I poured a drink, sat at the kitchen island, the one I built during lockdown because Chloe always wanted one of those bar-style counters, and opened my laptop. Logged in. Financial portal. Two-factor authentication. Clicked through the tabs until I reached the 529 plan interface. A small button waited there at the bottom. Review beneficiary. I hovered over it. Just a second. Then clicked. The screen blinked. Begin review process? Yes. Enter password. Done. Submit. Done. I didn't change anything yet. I didn't have to. The request alone initiated a flag. A conversation. A slow wheel beginning to turn. And once those wheels moved in the world of education finance, they didn't stop. I closed the laptop. Finished my drink. Then I walked out onto the porch, where the banner still hung from the night before. We're so proud of you, CHLOE. I stood there, staring at the name. Then I turned the porch light off and left the banner flapping in the dark. Tuesday morning. I wore the same gray suit I'd worn to Chloe's freshman orientation, right down to the brown leather belt she'd once teased me for, calling it boomer camouflage. My first meeting was with Leslie, my financial advisor of 9 years. The kind of guy who wore pocket squares and said things like wealth positioning strategy without irony. But he'd always been discreet, practical, loyal. He took one look at me, offered coffee, then said, "So, we're making a move?" I slid the planner Chloe had discarded across his desk. She didn't even read it. He didn't open it, just nodded. We pulled up the 529 plan on his monitor. Chloe's name glowed at the top. Her birthday, her social, every payment marked with a timestamp from my account. I asked him plainly, "How fast can we move this?" He looked over his glasses. "Depends. Do you have another beneficiary?" "I do. Maya, my goddaughter. Her parents, my best friend and his wife, died 6 years ago in a highway pileup. I promised them at the funeral I'd look after her future." Chloe was still in middle school back then. Maya used to come over for Thanksgiving, always quiet, always polite. She sent handwritten thank you cards, always asked before taking the last cookie. Unlike Chloe, who once FaceTimed me from Dana's car just to say she'd be skipping the volunteer shift I'd signed her up for because it's, like, basically modern slavery. The contrast wasn't lost on me. By noon, the paperwork was drafted. A full beneficiary reallocation, justified by my legal custodianship of the fund and my complete ownership over the contributed capital. Leslie double-checked the tax implications. None, if used for education. Then he called Marla, my estate attorney, to come in. Marla didn't ask questions. She reviewed the forms, added 2 addendums, then notarized the packet. 1 signature. A second. Final page. Done. The fund now belonged to Maya. $240,000. Room, board, tuition, books, covered. All hers. Not out of spite. Out of principle. Out of memory. I left the office with a single manila folder and a copy of the new statement. The part that struck me most wasn't the numbers. It was the beneficiary field. It no longer said Chloe Dana Madsen. It said Maya Elise Tran. Meanwhile, back home, Dana and Chloe were planning Chloe's college move like nothing had changed. I came home to find Dana surrounded by packing cubes, folding new towels. "She'll need extra long twin sheets," she said without looking up. "Her dorm has XL beds." Chloe was on the couch, phone in hand, fake laughing into the screen. Probably group chatting with girls who'd already scoped out sorority row. "You want to help pack?" Dana asked, more out of reflex than sincerity. I told her I had errands. She didn't press. They still thought the tuition was covered. That the account, my account, was just humming along behind the curtain like a backstage crew nobody ever credits. They were wrong. Because legal is just paperwork, until it's not. Until one line in one form, buried 3 signatures deep, says someone else gets the future you took for granted. They wouldn't see it yet. But when they did, they'd finally understand what a name really means on paper. The email landed on a Thursday morning while Dana was doing what Dana always does best, micromanaging from the patio with a glass of overpriced Chardonnay and a browser full of Pinterest dorm inspo. "Can you believe this?" she said, holding her phone up with 2 fingers like it was diseased. The college's finance office sent some weird message. I was across the kitchen island, making coffee. My back was to her, but I already knew what she was reading. I'd gotten a CC copy too. Automated, vague, harmless on the surface. "Dear Plan Contributor," it read. "Please confirm tuition disbursement details for the upcoming academic term. Beneficiary transfer records have been updated. Contact us to finalize disbursement routing." Dana squinted. "What does that mean? Updated how?" She forwarded it to me. Subject line, "Thoughts?" I replied 15 seconds later. All set. That was it. No emojis. No punctuation flare. Just 2 words. She read it twice, then frowned. Chloe, sitting barefoot on the outdoor couch, was painting her nails while FaceTiming someone I'd never met. Some girl with too much lip filler who kept saying slay, like it was a prayer. Dana showed her the email. Chloe didn't even pause. It's probably an error. They always mess stuff up before move-in. Whatever. Dana hesitated. For the first time, I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not concern. Not fear. Just uncertainty. Like a woman who's always been in the driver's seat suddenly realizing there's no wheel. That evening, she suggested dinner. The kind she never does unless someone's birthday is involved or she needs to stage a soft intervention. We should all sit down, she said. Talk through some logistics. Logistics? I asked. You know, dorm payments, move-in weekend, health insurance forms. I just think, after the brunch and all, we could use a reset. Translation, you're acting weird, and I'm trying to rein you in before you cost us money or reputation. I stared at her over the rim of my coffee mug and said, I've got some paperwork I'm reviewing. Maybe another night. That annoyed her. She tried to cover it with a smile, but her jaw twitched. You know, she said lightly, I feel like you've been a little sensitive since the toast. I shrugged. I feel like you've been a little blind since the wedding. Let me know if we're trading metaphors now. She laughed awkwardly. Okay, Henry. Seriously. Enough with the martyr complex. No complex, I said, flipping through the folder of remaining documents. Just facts. From the couch, Chloe chimed in. Are you still mad about the speech thing? It was just a moment. You're being extra. Sure, I said. Maybe I am. And then I left the room. Let them stew. Because that's the thing about people like Dana and Chloe. They don't respond to alarms unless they're blaring at 120 decibels. Subtle warnings? Gentle vibrations? Glitches in the matrix? They wave them off. Call them software bugs. Blame the system. Blame the mail server. Blame everything except themselves. They never stop to ask, what if the glitch is the signal? What if the silence means we already missed the message? Back upstairs, I reopened the file labeled Maya, tuition confirmed. I printed a clean copy of the confirmation letter and placed it into an envelope addressed to her community college. I added a sticky note with a short line. You earned this. No toast required. Then I sat at my desk, watching the house lights turn off one by one. Dana and Chloe would sleep just fine. Until the next glitch arrived. Only next time, it wouldn't be subtle. It would be the wall coming down. Friday evening, the house smelled like reconciliation, roast chicken, wine, overpriced candles labeled forgiveness, or some equally ironic scent. Dana had gone all out. Cloth napkins. Her mother's china. That smug little linen runner she saves for Instagrammable moments. Chloe even wore a blouse instead of her usual crop top sarcasm. It was choreographed. Every word. Let's not keep score, Dana began, sipping her wine with the kind of performative warmth you usually reserve for in-laws you hate but need a loan from. We've had bumps. Sure. But we've always made it work, right? I nodded, slicing my chicken with clinical precision. No eye contact. No bite. Across the table, Chloe chimed in, voice syrupy sweet. We're really glad you're here, Henry. I mean, college would have been impossible without you. Her eyes flicked to Dana, like they rehearsed it in the car. I could almost hear Dana's internal checklist. Step 1, flatter him. Step 2, remind him he's needed. Step 3, act like the past week was just moody nonsense. Step 4, reel him back in before he realizes how quiet power tastes. Too late. I appreciate that, I said softly. They both looked at me like I'd just agreed to co-sign a loan. Dana even touched my hand. See? This is good. Us. Working together. I smiled. Small. Controlled. Almost warm. Then I stood, cleared my plate, and told them I had an early meeting. Chloe didn't even look up. Don't forget to move that tuition money by Monday, okay? Orientation stuff's coming in hot. I paused in the hallway, let the silence stretch a beat too long. Then I called over my shoulder. Noted. The next morning, I met Maya outside the administration building of Central Piedmont Community College. She wore jeans, a cardigan 2 sizes too big, and that nervous smile kids wear when they're afraid good news might still be a prank. Thanks for meeting me, she said, clutching her backpack like it might bolt. I handed her a folder, neatly labeled. Inside, payment confirmation, housing coverage, bookstore credits, and a 1-page letter. She opened it, skimmed the numbers, her lip trembling. She looked up, whispering, Are you sure? I've never been more sure, I said. This is yours. She glanced at the letter again. Can I read it? Of course. She leaned against the campus bench and unfolded the single page. Maya, you never asked for anything. You never pretended. You never expected me to show up, which is exactly why I always wanted to. This isn't charity. It's recognition. And it's yours now. Make the most of it. Henry. When she finished reading, she folded the paper slowly, like it meant something. Not because it was poetic, not because it was dramatic, but because she understood what I was giving her wasn't money. It was legacy. We said our goodbyes. No photo op. No fake tears. No toast. I watched her walk into the admissions building, her shoulders lighter. On the drive back, I passed 3 billboards for Chloe's university. Big, bold, expensive dreams. But all I saw was a price tag. A receipt for 16 years of loyalty burned in one careless speech. Back at home, the leftovers from the family dinner were still on the counter. Half-eaten cake. Empty bottles. Napkins folded too neatly. The linen runner was stained with wine. I left it there. Didn't clean a thing. Because some messes aren't mine anymore. The call came at 9:13 a.m. on Tuesday, move-in week. Dana was in the middle of folding Chloe's color-coordinated bath towels, white and teal, with matching flip-flops, when her phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer. Almost. Hello. Mrs. Matson? This is Dr. Shelby, Dean of Admissions at Eastbrook. I'm calling regarding your daughter's tuition disbursement. There's an issue. Dana straightened up. What kind of issue? Well, the 529 distribution request was denied. The account was recently reallocated. We need to clarify who currently owns and controls the account before any charges can be processed. There was a long pause. I'm sorry, reallocated? Yes, ma'am. The beneficiary was changed last month, and the contributor initiated a new distribution toward a different institution. Dana gripped the edge of the counter. That doesn't make any sense. The account is for Chloe. It's always been for Chloe. I'm afraid that's no longer the case. Dana hung up mid-sentence, opened her laptop with trembling hands, logged into the account portal. 0. Balance. Not a pending transaction. Not a processing delay. Just a clean, cold line of zeros and a note. Funds dispersed to alternate beneficiary. Confirmation complete. She stared at the screen like it had personally slapped her. Chloe, she shouted. Get in here. Chloe walked in half-dressed, mid-text, chewing gum like the world still made sense. What? Dana spun the laptop toward her. It's gone. What's gone? The money. The entire plan. The college fund. Chloe blinked. Wait, what? That's impossible. He said it was all set. Dana was already calling me. The first attempt rang 5 times. No answer. The second went straight to voicemail. So did the third. Chloe's voice rose, panic bleeding through the fake calm. He can't do this. It's illegal, right? Dana didn't respond. She was already pulling on shoes. They drove to my condo. I buzzed them in. No resistance. Dana banged on the door. I opened it, still holding a coffee mug, mid-sip. She launched straight in. What the hell did you do? I looked at her, then at Chloe, who had her arms crossed like she still thought this was salvageable. You got a call, I said flatly. Dana's nostrils flared. Don't play coy. You moved the money. After everything, after all we did. I cut her off. Calm. Measured. Precise. You toasted your real dad. Let him figure it out. Chloe's mouth dropped open. Dana blinked, stunned. You can't mean that. I absolutely can. I stepped back into the apartment. Didn't invite them in. Dana's voice cracked. She's your daughter. No. She was a responsibility. One I handled better than the man she publicly replaced me with. You're punishing her for a speech? I'm rewarding someone for 16 years of gratitude. Chloe finally spoke, voice wavering. This isn't fair. I met her eyes. You're right. It's not. Then I shut the door. Didn't slam it. Just closed it with the same quiet authority I'd used signing every tuition check they assumed would keep coming forever. Outside, through the peephole, I watched Dana stand frozen. Chloe began to cry, mascara streaking. I sipped my coffee. Let the silence stretch. Because sometimes, justice doesn't come in courtrooms or ultimatums. Sometimes it comes in the form of a missing wire transfer and a very long car ride home. By Saturday, the family grapevine was swollen and leaking. Cousins, in-laws, even Dana's godmother from Charleston, people who hadn't sent Chloe a birthday card in a decade, suddenly had opinions. Did you hear Henry pulled the tuition fund? She's stuck with nothing? No way he'd do that without a reason. Well, you know Dana. Always assumed he'd clean up the mess. They all knew. And not because I told them. It was Chloe's uncle, the one with the landscaping business and a gift for gossip. He'd been at the brunch. He saw the toast. And he'd always liked me more than he liked Rick, who once borrowed his truck and returned it with a cracked tailgate and an empty tank. By the time we reached the annual family pool party, Dana sighed. Of course, the whispers had turned into currents. Not quite loud, but impossible to ignore. People looked up when we arrived. They did that thing where they pretended they hadn't just been talking about you by switching topics so fast it sounded like code. Dana tried to front-load the damage. She told anyone who'd listened that there had been a miscommunication, that the college botched the paperwork, and that someone had sabotaged the process out of spite. I sat under a striped umbrella, drinking iced tea from a red plastic cup, watching her word vomit defense like it was a rerun of a show I used to like before the writing got lazy. Eventually, she cornered me near the grill, where someone's uncle was burning hot dogs and pretending not to listen. "You're making me look insane," she hissed through her teeth. "They think I leeched off you for 16 years and then let her humiliate you." I took a slow sip. "Imagine that." She glared. "You think this is funny?" "No," I said. "I think it's inevitable." Chloe showed up halfway through the party, already blotchy around the eyes, wearing one of those sweatshirts that colleges sell freshmen at $70 a pop. I wondered if she bought it before or after she realized she wouldn't be attending. She stayed glued to her phone for a while, but as more people avoided eye contact and sidled away, she walked toward me. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. No sarcasm. No filters. I didn't get up. "I didn't mean it like that," she said, her voice cracking. "At the graduation. The toast. I was nervous. It just came out." I looked at her. Not angry. Not smug. Just done. "You meant it exactly like that," I said calmly. "That's why it was so easy to say." She froze. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. And then, silence. The kind that bends a room. The kind where pool water stops splashing. Where beer cans stop cracking open. Where even the kids pause mid-scream because they feel something in the air has shifted. Dana turned her back to me, suddenly absorbed in explaining how things got twisted to someone who didn't ask. Chloe sat on the edge of a lounge chair, hugging her knees like it might rewind time. I finished my tea, tossed the cup in the trash, and left without saying goodbye. Let them sit with it. Let them wonder how many years of subtle disrespect, public diminishment, and quiet betrayals it takes before a man decides that being silent isn't weakness, it's strategy. And by the time they figure it out, they're already too late. By Monday, Dana had traded performative calm for desperate scrambling. I imagine she spent the entire day making calls, sitting at her kitchen island, laptop open, phone pressed to her cheekbone hard enough to leave an imprint. She tried Eastbrook's bursar's office first. Hit a brick wall. The funds were gone, properly dispersed, reallocated through official channels. Irreversible. Then came the parade of financial advisors. She found the number for Leslie, my guy, and left a voicemail she probably thought sounded professional but came off as shrill. "There's been a huge mistake. Please call me immediately." Leslie did call back, eventually, and I'm told his exact words were, "Ma'am, Mr. Wells was the sole contributor on the account. His actions are fully within his rights." She called a lawyer next. A family friend. Probably someone she'd bragged to years ago about how well Henry sets things up. That call lasted 6 minutes. I know because she texted me immediately after. "You didn't just move the money. You burned the whole f***ing bridge." I didn't reply, because it wasn't a bridge. It was scaffolding. One I built to carry them all while they laughed behind my back. And once they reached the top, they cut the ropes and toasted another man. So yes, I removed it. That evening, around 9 o'clock, there was a knock at my door. Soft. Hesitant. Not the banging from the last time. I didn't answer right away. Let her knock again. This time louder. A pause. Then another. When I opened it, Dana was standing there in a hoodie and sweatpants, mascara streaked, holding her phone in one hand like it might protect her. "You can't do this," she said, voice cracking. "You don't understand. Without that money, without you, we'll lose everything." Her eyes searched mine, pleading. "We already did," I said quietly. "You just didn't notice until it was gone." That hit her harder than I expected. She staggered forward, reaching out like the sentence itself knocked her off balance. Then, slowly, she collapsed onto the hallway floor. Knees first. The concrete echo of her impact startled a dog down the hall. She looked up at me, eyes wide, stunned. "Please." It wasn't performative. Not this time. It was real. Real panic. Real collapse. Behind her, a neighbor's door opened just a crack. Another one 2 floors up did the same. This building had seen drunk arguments and messy breakups, sure, but this was something else. A woman unraveling on a doormat, realizing too late the silence she'd dismissed wasn't weakness. It was departure. I gave you 16 years, I said. Not for applause. Not even for thanks. But I gave them. Willingly. And you let a drunk in linen steal the credit with a smile. She wiped her face with her sleeve. I didn't know. Yes, you did, I said. You just hoped I wouldn't notice. Another pause. She reached up, gripped the frame of the door like she might pull herself in. Please, Henry, she whispered. She's just a kid. No, I said. She's exactly the adult you raised her to be. I shut the door. Gently. No drama. No scene. Just the soft click of a boundary finally respected. And as I turned off the hallway light, I heard nothing behind it. Not pleading. Not footsteps. Just stillness. And that, for once, was enough. The registrar's office smelled like linoleum, toner, and too many dreams deferred by FAFSA. It was crowded, last-minute students juggling forms, parents muttering over deadlines, administrative staff barely holding it together with overworked printers and underpaid patients. But Maya was ready. She wore the same cardigan she'd worn the day I first took her to visit this campus. Still too big, still falling off one shoulder. But her expression had changed. No longer timid. No longer waiting for someone to tell her she was allowed. She stepped up to the desk, folder in hand, voice steady. Enrollment confirmation, course registration, and final tuition receipt. The clerk looked it over, typed for a moment. All clear, she said, then glanced at me. Looks like someone really believes in you. I didn't hesitate. I believe in people who don't pretend. Maya smiled, not wide, but real. The kind of smile that doesn't ask for approval because it already knows its worth. We walked outside together. She turned toward the campus commons, I toward the lot. Thank you, she said, one last time. For everything. I nodded. Make it count. And I meant it. Not because she owed me, but because it was finally going to someone who would carry it forward, not wear it like a costume, not toast someone else with the price of my years. Driving home, I took the long way. Didn't plan to. Just didn't want to go straight back to silence. I passed a few familiar turns, places I used to drive Chloe to, dance class, SAT prep, that overpriced juice place she insisted on every time she got AB. Then I turned onto the old street. I didn't mean to, but there it was. The house. Their house. The one with the porch I painted, the hydrangeas I planted, the gutter I fixed during that hurricane season while Dana complained the Wi-Fi was too slow. And in front of it, parked diagonally across the driveway, was a moving truck. Dana stood in the yard, arms crossed, staring at the boxes like she could will them back inside. Chloe was on the curb. Her hoodie pulled over her head, knees tucked in, makeup streaked. Her phone sat beside her, dark screen. No audience today. They both looked up as my car approached. For a second, just a second, Dana lifted her hand. Not quite a wave. More like a flinch of recognition. Chloe didn't move. Neither did I. I didn't slow down. Didn't open the window. Didn't offer closure. Because closure is for people who earned an ending. This wasn't an ending. It was an audit. A final reckoning, line by line, item by item. No violence. No revenge porn. No viral moment. Just truth. She toasted her real dad. Let him pay for the cleanup. I turned the corner. The house disappeared in the rear view. And for the first time in 16 years, I didn't feel like I left anything behind.